Good evening and welcome into the number one group of six college football show on the planet. This is the Group of Five Guys presented by FanDuel. And if you're new here, our mission is to be the voice for the group of six football programs, the voice that the mainstream sports media refuses to be. We need everybody's help to do that. Hit the follow button on all the social media platforms at Group of Five Guys. Go to YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, the Believe Network, wherever you get your best podcasts. Subscribe to the channel. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Share with your family and friends. Leave a comment, leave a review, whatever you can do. It all helps. On this episode, we're talking Conference USA and the American Conference, talking FanDuel win totals and plenty more. Hope you enjoy the show. This is the Group of Five Guys, and we are coming to you live.
They got Old Dominion week 3, and ODU is by no means a layup. The Group of Five Guys told me that, so that has to be true.
We looked at each other, we was like, Mike, the best place to be is a Group of Five. So I'm sitting here with the Group of Five Guys, right?
Troy has won, it's been a winner, and it's a special place, so it's why you want the job.
But it's a ton of fun to watch a guy go to the NFL from a Nevada or a Colorado State or a Middle Tennessee or an App State, and fans follow that kid.
It was across there. You want to have this thing packed out, have the student section packed out, giving those guys hell on the sideline. I mean, that's part of it. I mean,
win or lose, like we're winning the tailgate.
There's no better place to be developed in this country than Boise State.
Jeff, I got to tell you, buddy, I am fired the hell up. I got a new windscreen on my microphone. I got new lighting here on either side of me. I'm feeling renewed, refreshed, invigorated, bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, and I'm ready for football season, my friend.
I can tell. I mean, you just look like a whole new. I mean, you can see the pores on your face now. I mean, you look great.
All you can see is the bags under my eyes. I hadn't slept in 6 months, and Jeff, I'm honestly fired up because Bam Adebayo finally showed some toughness and punched Tyler Hero the other night.
I saw that. You're just taking pages out of my Golden State Warriors book where Draymond has punched a couple guys. Right. So finally, Bam is doing what he's supposed to do as a proverbial big man.
Right. Well, yeah, and I'm sure you've seen the Haslam and Draymond beef is brewing now because Draymond is comparing it and Haslam and what 90% of the comments are failing to realize is Hero and Bam are not teammates. Not, like they traded him.
I know.
You know what I'm saying? So like it's not. They weren't in practice. Like this was just like a supposedly Hero was talking trash on socials and Bam saw him and it's like that reminds me of my favorite fake tough guy of all time and Kevin Garnett. Where it's like, dude, you're picking on the European guard. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like I need to see that in the playoffs against Joel Embiid.
Oh,
you know what I'm saying? That's when I need to see that. But anyway, a lot of good stuff, and we will let you know that this show, Group of Five Guys, presented by FanDuel, this is a pre-recorded show. We like going live. We almost always go live. However, by the time this airs, I will have the old toes in the sand down there at the beach, taking the family for a quick trip, just like 2.5 days, but just get down there, day and a half or two of relaxation, get the kids down there,
they'll be
swim
good.
around a little bit.
That's what you need.
Yeah.
You need to
take
the fam down there, let Lauren get some relaxation time, take the kids from her where she can just kind of hang out and be herself. And you too, you got all deserve it. But I know how that is. I just spent the last week at the lake with the entire family. I got back, I was like, I need a vacation for my vacation.
That's exactly what happens is like, and that's why I'm glad that we're doing this. So we'll be back for the week. So we'll have the weekend to then, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Recharge.
But dude, hey, a little bit of breaking news. I'll be flying up to Philadelphia on Sunday. Should be spending some time over there with the Owls at Temple, Jeff, on Sunday night.
That's going to be awesome.
We ain't been up there to the Northeast except for when we went to West Point, which was, a little different. That was a championship game. We didn't get the time. We didn't get to spend the time on campus there like we normally like to do. But and this will be quick, man. This will be still nothing official, as far as like time and what all I'm going to get to do. But I'm up there for work, so
Well, hopefully you get to, go check out the weight room, locker room, some of the facilities, and get some good content for the brand, man. And honestly, I'm just interested to check out like how their setup is. You know what I mean? It's
when you're playing in an NFL stadium off
Exactly.
campus, you know what I'm saying, and you're in a city like that.
Yeah.
It's always that's one of the coolest parts of getting out and getting to do like what we get to do is we always talk about this as we went to Tulane last year, like the difference between a place like that that's just built in an an urban city area where there's no space versus like your small college town where there's all kind of space and these massive campuses. So I imagine Temple will be more similar to a Tulane or maybe, how Georgia State is or Kennesaw is, where you're like in the city, you know what I mean? Your different campus buildings are just in the city a little bit, but I'm excited for it. But get up there to that Northeast corridor that started making some waves last year. But we got to talk Conference USA and American. Speaking of Temple, we're going to talk about the FanDuel win totals that came out last week. We talked about some of the other conferences last week, the Pac-12 and the Mountain West. And, it's funny when you look at win totals and you compare it to kind of the consensus of who people think is going to win a conference, and then you compare it to how it is every year. Which, by the way, speaking of preseason, sorry to go backwards here, the people are waking up, Jeff, as far as the FPI and strength of schedule and strength of record and all the things. And I know there's a lot of people that are on our side for this argument that are not on our side for any of the other arguments. They're just not there yet, Jeff. And we've been preaching this since the onset of this thing of like, we're telling you now, Big 12. We're telling you now, ACC, not Miami, not Clemson. We're telling you now, you're not in the club. What's that Chris Brown song? Yeah, you're standing outside the club. You can't even get in. That's what they are. That's what these guys are.
That's exactly right.
And but anyway, but they are waking up to the fact that, they come out with this FPI, and that affects the strength of schedule metrics, this preseason FPI, when we haven't seen anybody play football yet. And that affects your strength of schedule. That affects your strength of record. And whether you like it or not, those metrics all come into play, whether you're talking about a couple weeks into the season in the AP or whether you're talking about December when they're picking playoff teams.
Right.
And it's good. It's funny to see the Big 12 and the ACC fans like get on board with that argument. Like, yeah. Screw the SEC. But then at the same time, they attempt to do the same things to, the group of 6 teams.
Well, I was going back and forth with some Houston fans because this is exactly what I was talking about. And then like we were all on the same side. And then I was like, buddy, they don't want you either. Mm-hmm. So like pump the brakes a little bit. And then some Texas Tech fans jumped in. And I was like, look, like we're all on the same side. Don't get mad at me because I'm just pointing out the fact that you're not in the club.
Yeah.
So like let's all band together now. Like we can make this thing Group 8 real quick.
Which Jeff, as many people have predicted of this split between your whatever 25 or 30 big brands, big money programs of splitting off and leaving the NCAA. And then guess what we're back to? Good old fashioned Division I FBS
college football.
I mean, can you imagine? But it's funny, man. It's good to see. It's like I often get like twofold. I'm like, thank you. Finally, everybody's realizing. But then on the other hand, I'm like, I've been telling you.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
no doubt.
Why are you waking up now? Why do you see it now that you're affected in the Big 12 when we've been trying to tell you for 5 years?
That's right. Well, Sprouse, I'm gonna just quickly for the audio listeners read down all the win totals, and we'll just start at the top. So, according to FanDuel, we got Delaware at 5.5 wins, FIU at 6.5, Jack State at 7.5, Kennesaw State at 6.5, Liberty at 8.5, our Blue Raiders, dear old Blue Raiders, at 3.5, Missouri State 3.5, New Mexico State 4.5, Sam Houston at 3.5. finishing off with the Hilltoppers of Western Kentucky at 6.5. So Delaware,
So I mean,
5.5.
yeah.
How you feel about them? And
I'll tell you, dude, it's interesting with Delaware at 5.5 because I think maybe it's just me. A lot of people like Delaware, or at least I like Delaware. I mean, they're going to bring back the quarterback. We've talked about this mostly off the air, Jeff, about this entire football season, and you could say this about any season, but I think very, very in particular now with the landscape of college football and the transfer portal and all those things, if you hit on a quarterback, you got a chance. And if you don't hit on your quarterback or you whiff on your quarterback, you got no shot. No matter what else you got going on, right? And with Delaware and that damn kid, that Minicucci kid, if he can, here's the thing though, he's got to settle in a little bit because there were times last year, I can't remember which game it was in particular, but they were playing, it might have been Liberty on like a Thursday night game or one of the weeknight games where he was just going off, but then he would have a couple kind of silly turnover type plays for what I would equate to doing too much. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like you played quarterback. Yeah, you want the extra yardage. Yeah, you want to make the play, but also protect yourself, protect the ball, protect your teammates. Now, that being said, when you look at their schedule, I mean, they'll start 1-0. Vanderbilt's hard to tell, right? Because they've been relatively good the last couple of years, but how much of that equates to Pavia and all that? Coastal, probably a 50-50. That's a toss-up the way it stands.
That's the swing game that I see on this schedule that is
I agree.
Going to be either 6 wins or end up being 5 wins. That's what I think.
Yeah, and they're their schedule's pretty balanced, right? Like they don't have a stretch outside of that Vandy, Coastal, Virginia, Liberty stretch, which will be tough because, theoretically you could be 1-4 right there, and now you got to play catch up, and then you get Western Kentucky and Kennesaw. We'll see how they are. FIU, but 5.5. I mean, you're going to beat Merrimack. I'm sorry, Jeff, but you're going to beat Middle. You're going to beat Missouri State. You're going to beat New Mexico State. So then can you find 2, you know what I'm saying? Can you find 2 wins and the rest of it? I think you can. I think 5.5 is I mean, I'm buying on Delaware, Jeff.
I mean, I think it's right on the money. Now, I think your Coastal game is a swing game, and I think your FIU game is a swing game to me.
I agree.
If you can win both of those, I think they could be a 6-7 win team. But you just have a lot of teams, and we're diving deep as we're going through these shows. So like we're getting ready to do our conference previews, right? So we're starting to really dig into these teams. A lot of the teams in Conference USA that I've kind of come across, every one of them has an X factor player that it's like, if he lives up to the hype, he changes the dynamic of this team, which could swing you to 3 games depending on, on their schedule. So we'll see. But I think 5.5 is right on the nose. Yeah. It's pretty darn accurate.
Well, and Jeff, one more thing on Delaware is like, right. You the way you stand right now, you're thinking, oh, Liberty, I mean, 8.5 when they went to, but Liberty was pretty bad. You know what I mean? Like if Liberty's not a lot better, I mean, Delaware could go win that game. No problem at home too.
Yeah.
I mean, so you just don't know. Western Kentucky, not, are they going to perform? Is Tisdale going to be the guy at quarterback? You just don't know. Is Kennesaw going to fall off? Like there's so many unknowns. And you're looking at the brand and you're looking at history and stuff to think, oh, that's a sure win, that's a sure loss, and that's a toss-up. But they're all toss-ups.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But I like them at 5.5. I would take the over on that, Jeff. And then, you mentioned FIU sitting there at 6.5. Obviously we like Willie Simmons, but here's the thing about FIU. If you win 7 games, that's a home run, absolute success. Big time season for Willie Simmons, and he probably goes to coach South Florida after Brian Hartline leaves.
Agreed.
I mean, if they do that, and so that's kind of where I'm at with FIU. You talk about the X factors; they always have multiple of them all over the field, and it's whether it clicks or not. It's whether it clicks in the locker room for that team, and if they have a quarterback.
If you have a quarterback and a decent offensive line, I think FIU can have a really good season. But like you said, if they have a good season, happen to be 7-8 wins, Simmons he'll be getting some calls.
So Jacksonville State, runner-up last year, lost in the championship game at home to Kennesaw. They're at 7.5. So Liberty's kind of the overwhelming favorite at 8.5. Jacksonville State right below them at 7.5. And then you see, it start dropping off quite a bit. We talked about this a little bit last week, Jeff. That week 0 game,
huge,
at North Dakota State. I mean, what an absolute banger to open up the college football season, Jeff. And I think, we doubted Jacksonville State last year. They came off winning the conference, and then everybody goes right back to Liberty, Western Kentucky, and they're kind of doing it again this year, as far as, especially with Liberty. And it's easy to do, right? They got the big name head coach, they got the resources, they got the facilities, they got all the things. But then when you look at Jacksonville State, they just keep winning.
Yeah.
I mean, you know what I'm saying? Just a program, just a steady program. And go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think Charles Kelly's done a hell of a job, and you get Creel coming back, right? So you get some continuity at your most important position on offense. That, I mean, to me, really for this, where they're 7.5, if I'm not mistaken, right? Let me make sure I got that. Yeah, 7.5. That first 4 games, to me, is going to make or break that 7.5, because you go at North Dakota State, you get Eastern Kentucky at home, at Ohio, and Georgia Southern at home. Can you win 3 out of those 4? Which Ohio obviously got to be a lot better. Georgia Southern, to me, they can be really good. They play really good at times, and other times they don't. So, but if you can go 3-1 in that stretch, I see them ripping off at least another 4 or 5 wins based on their schedule. Again, a lot of this can change as we really dive into these teams over the next couple of weeks for our preview shows. So keep an eye out for those. But I'm done doubting the Gamecocks, Sprouse. I really am.
I am too. And here's the thing about them, Jeff, is you talk about those first 4, but then after that, you're going to be heavy favorites against Middle. Kennesaw, you'd imagine, would drop off a little bit. FIU, New Mexico State, Sam Houston. You'll be favored by probably, more than a touchdown in every one of those games. So then Western Kentucky, that'll be a big game for the conference. Missouri State, you'll be heavy favorites against. And then at Delaware, I mean.
That's what I'm saying. That first 4 games is for that 7.5 number.
And
plays a big role.
And that's with everybody in the non-conference, right? You know what I mean? And they don't have anybody on their schedule that it's like, all right, you're not beating them. You know what I'm saying? They don't have anybody.
No, they have a very favorable, as far as their draw and what they set up. But again, we know all too well when we went to James Madison on the inaugural game in Harrisonburg, Virginia, those fans, that team is going to be gassed up. So you better be ready to play smash mouth football, which they do. They like to run. But it's just, I think it's going to be an awesome environment, but they better be ready. They better be.
They also don't play Liberty.
Yeah.
Jeff, call me crazy here, Jeff. If they go to North Dakota State and come out with a win that game, Jeff, you could be sitting here looking at a 8-9-0 team going into Western Kentucky. You could be talking about a team that's in the top 25 relatively quickly, because North Dakota State, yes, first year in the FBS, yes, week 0, blah, 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 blah. But it'll be a game that everybody watches because it's week 0, and it's North Dakota State, which is a brand that everybody knows, and everybody knows even when they were FCS. You don't want to play North Dakota State.
No.
Nobody wants to play North Dakota State. And now you got to go there, which also I just hope that I hope that Jacksonville State gets credit, or doesn't, even if they come away and lose that game, that they don't get crushed. I hope if they go win, I hope they get credit for going there, the first FBS game on the road, because, you hit the nail on the head. It's going to be insanity at that place. Insanity.
You hope so. I don't, the mainstream media won't give them, the voters won't give them. The voters are going to look at this schedule and they're going to be like, oh, well, they didn't play anybody. So that's where I think hurts them as far as getting into the top 25, unless they're, they're going to have to be 12-0, I think. and still they'll be like 26, 25.
They'll be
because Conference
yeah.
USA gets no respect at
You're
all
right.
from
You're
those
right.
guys. And sorry, Liberty fans, but what happened at the Fiesta Bowl hurts.
Yeah, it does. What about Kennesaw, Jeff? Defending champs. You got to think. You got to think a lot of that rode on a couple of guys. You know, Amari Odom obviously being the quarterback, and I know he made some mistakes relatively often at games, but that offense went as he went, and so I just can't see them running it back the same way that they did this last year, and they're at 6.5.
Yeah, I think it's going to be tough for sure. I'm not going to completely say that 6.5 number is out of the question with Jerry Mack. I think he's done a great job, but looking at their schedule, I think that at Tennessee, at Arkansas State, and then Jackson, that 3-game stretch there is going to be critical, not only from a health standpoint, but like I have to think that Arkansas State is going to be a little bit better, or else somebody's going to could potentially be out of there. But that's a story for another day. But I have faith in Jerry Mack. I don't know. This is one I'd probably stay away from a betting standpoint, just because I think it's right on the nose, and it weighs heavily again on like one or two X factors that we don't know a lot about.
Yeah, I agree, and we've talked about that with Kennesaw too. Is being where they are geographically. I'm not saying they're going to go find Amari Odom again, but they're going to find somebody.
Yeah,
you know, kind of an under the radar player, a local kid or something that everybody else passed on, that they'll be able to put out there and make some plays. Liberty 8.5 overwhelming favorites again in Conference USA. I think the expectation in Lynchburg is, I mean, we better win Conference USA, if not more than that, you know?
Yeah.
But when you look at their schedule, I mean, obviously the James Madison game in week 1 is a huge factor in what they've got going. They got a pretty, again, they avoid Jacksonville State. So, you know, they go James Madison, but then Gardner-Webb, Ball State, Coastal, we'll see, right?
Yeah.
Delaware, who we just got done talking about, is they got to go on the road to Delaware on a Friday night. That's not an easy place to play. You know. But then Sam Houston, Kennesaw, FIU, New Mexico State, middle. Pretty good stretch there. But what's happened to Liberty in the past couple of years is they've slipped up in one of those.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And they lost a lot of close games last year.
They did. I just think that I'm going to choose to believe that they rise to the occasion and play up to their, I guess, expectation, especially with this schedule. Like, it's a very favorable conference schedule and your non-conference as well. So, like, they just have to handle their business and be the Liberty of old. Now, if they don't, you know, we talked about this, seats start to get warm. Expectations are high at that program and that administration and then that fan base. So we'll see. But
yeah,
they should get it. But I gotta see him on the field
8.5
first.
though, Jeff. I
That's
mean, you're
high.
talking. Yeah, I mean, you're right. Because even if you said they lose to James Madison and they lose one of those in that little stretch, let's say they lose to Delaware. I mean, you're still 10-2. Let's say they lose to Western Kentucky, you're still at 9.
I know.
You know, you're still hitting the over.
Which leads me to believe just a little bit that Vegas doesn't have quite as much faith in them as maybe their fan base and people should. Because if you look at this schedule,
yeah,
like
this could be a 9.5 number.
So once again, I mean, it's going to swing on a couple positions.
Yeah. Well, and then too, Jeff, is when they get to playing, and I don't know, maybe when they get to playing in the middle of the week, it doesn't look like Liberty's got much. When they get to playing in the middle of the week too, then those games are always wild cards.
Yeah, no doubt.
You know, so. Well, Jeff, let's talk about our beloved Blue Raiders. 3.5 is the number for the Raiders.
3.5.
Okay. Well, Jeff, I mean, here's the thing. They lost to their FCS Week 1 opponent last year. But let's find 4 wins. Murray State, you got to count that as one.
It'll be a win.
Nevada, they beat last year.
I mean, they were
but that's a 50-50 game.
Well, they were losing for I think all of but the last
Well, it was
3
what did
minutes
they
of
win?
that
10-7, right? Didn't they win that game
they
like 10 to
scored
7?
late, very late to get the lead, but Nevada's traveling across the country, so that's gonna have to be one of your wins if you want to get to 3.5.
Yeah, and Jeff, I'll tell you the other. This is going to be. First of all, may I say this is about the most fortunate schedule that Middle's had in a very long time, because their P4 opponent is Kansas. It's like they're a little better than Kansas has been, just a couple of years ago with Lance Leipold, but ain't nobody on that schedule that's untouchable. That's gonna, as we always talk about, there's no Michigan, there's no Georgia on there. But here's the problem, Jeff. You're right. I think if you're gonna get to 4, it's Murray State, Nevada, Sam Houston, and New Mexico State.
That's your 4.
So you're gonna be sitting there at 2-8 with 2 games left in the season. Now here's the question: if you're 2-8 at that point in the season, has there been a coaching change? Has there been a quarterback change? Has there been any change?
No.
Now, if you got to look at any of these teams, what if hear me out on this, Jeff? And I don't want this for Middle, by the way. I want Middle to beat Murray State. I want to beat Marshall, Nevada.
Yeah.
I want Middle to be 3-0, going to play on the road at Jacksonville State. And if they are, you can bet your ass 2 guys that'll be there. But Jeff, what if, let's just play hypothetical here. What if they're 1-6? What if they lose to Murray? What if they're 0-7? Something 0-5, 0-6. You got to think like some kind of change.
Yeah, if you're over.
But what I'm getting at here, Jeff, is what if what if you're 2-6? What if you beat Murray State and Nevada, and then you lose, and then you get down to Western Kentucky, and you're about to play in 100 Miles of Hate, best rivalry game in all of college football. What if you make a coaching change right there, and you get that interim head coach bump?
It'd be very unmiddle.
And then you
they don't fire anybody.
Yeah, Middle would make a coaching change and just have a total collapse. Just everything it'd be forfeiting games. Yeah, dude. Jeff, I'm gonna be honest with you, dude. I don't see 3.5, bro. I'm so sorry to say it. I want so bad. I do, like, there's nothing more that I want than to be like, when I tell people, when I'm coaching flag football and somebody's grandpa comes up to me, he's like, "Who, your size? You must have played." And I say, "Yeah, Middle Tennessee." This happened on Saturday, by the way. And he was like, "It's a good program." And I was like, "Nah, was a good program." we're in the dumpster right now. But like, what I want nothing more than for when I say that, people would be like, "Oh shit."
Yeah.
Like, that's probably how people that, even if they played at Tulane when Tulane was bad, so I played at Tulane, people are like, "Oh hell yeah." You know what I'm saying?
Well,
there's nothing more than I want.
Here's the deal, Sprouse. I'm staying far away from this just because I got burned last year on their 3.5 number.
Yeah, you did.
But I'll say this. I think Roman Gagliano is legit. I really do. He adds an element of athleticism that Nick simply didn't have. He's bigger. He's stronger. He can get outside the pocket. He can take more hits, which Nick got beat up the last 2 years. You hope to God that the offensive line is a little bit better. If nothing else, they're going to be bigger. Now, that doesn't mean anything, but I think Roman is that X factor. And if he plays to his potential, he can. I'm not projecting him to win the conference, but I think they could get over 3.5 wins. I'm not betting it, but I'm rooting for it because I love Roman. I think he's an awesome player. He's a great kid.
He's a local kid.
Yeah.
Opelika guy.
Yeah. Maybe he can resurrect us, Bros. I don't know.
Boy, I hope so, man. I want nothing more than for that to happen. I want him to build Derek Mason a statue because he goes and wins 12 games. You know what I'm saying? That's what I want.
No doubt.
But anyway. All right. Missouri State, they're another 3.5 team. It's just going to be tough for them, man. I think, I don't know.
Yeah.
I think they're better. Dude, Jeff, I think Middle's the worst team in the conference, dude. I mean, maybe Sam Houston.
Yeah, they're in the running.
I mean, that's what Vegas thinks, right?
Yeah. No, they do.
Is 3.5 the lowest number in the conference?
Yeah. Them, Sam Houston, and
Missouri State.
Yeah. So we'll see. Somebody's got to be the worst. We'll see if it's us or if it's
and somebody's got to hit the over.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
That's right.
New Mexico State's at 4.5. It's tough, man. Dude, this conference is a lot better than it gets credit for. We've said this a lot. Like I think there's a pretty good. It's pretty balanced right now. Where I know everybody probably thinks, oh, Liberty and Western Kentucky, but like, I think you got Jacksonville State, Liberty, Western Kentucky. You could throw Kennesaw in that mix at the top tier. I think it's wide open for those four.
Yeah.
And then you got your Delawares that, might make some noise. I mean, you're talking 5 or 6 teams that could win it,
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think it's just tough sledding for Middle, New Mexico State, Missouri State, and Sam Houston. I'm not, the Bearcat fans might be mad at me. I'm just not sold on Phil Longo. I'm really not. I have not seen much from their team since he took over. 3.5, I think, is about right, especially with their schedule. Then we get to the old Hilltoppers. Sprouse, what are we thinking about our arch nemesis over there?
Our arch nemesis has a schedule like we've typically had, because they got to go to, first of all, they got to open on the road at Nevada, which, I mean, they'll be favored against Nevada, but you got to travel way the hell out there.
Yeah.
Then you got to come back. You got to go to Athens. Okay. And then you got to go up to freaking Indiana. Right. I mean, this is a recipe. I hate to say it. And I'm not saying this as a Middle guy. This is the recipe for disaster, because you are going to be physically beat to hell after week 3.
Yep. And
you're likely to have, you may not think it from the outside looking in, but you're likely to have, let's say you're rotating 7 or 8 defensive linemen. You're likely going to be down to probably 5 by this point that you want to be rotating. You're going to be rotating. Now you're going to have, this used to happen to us every year. Yeah. Now you're going to have somebody that should be playing D end who's going to have to play inside, or you're going to have some kind of shift in the offensive line. You're going to have somebody that's supposed to be playing guard, playing center, or guards playing right tackle that shouldn't be playing. And the fans don't know, because the fans don't, are not necessarily watching, paying attention to the O-line and the D-line. But that's where it's at.
Yeah.
And then you're going to have some receiver that stubbed his toe, and he's going to be out.
Well, God forbid your quarterback goes out.
Well, that's what I'm saying. And now, God forbid one of your, like,
key guys,
goes out. And so, and like, you hate to say it, but like, you don't wish this upon anybody, but it's going to happen. Now, you hope that nobody gets injured, but what you're going to have for certain is some shoulders, some just like nagging stuff, hips, knees, shoulders, where even if you're an O-lineman and you play through it, you're not up to par. And then you get into a stretch where it's late in the season and you go Jacksonville State. I mean, you look at that schedule, Jack State, Liberty, Kennesaw, the last 3 weeks of the season, trying to get to, where are they at, 6.5 on their win total?
Yeah, for sure.
So like, you got to get it before you get there to that, that 3, or who knows again how Kennesaw is going to be. Who knows really how Liberty's going to be.
Yeah, I mean,
but
that's the biggest thing for me is can you survive that opening 3? Because honestly, you go on the road to Reno, and they're going to be fired up to play. It's the opener, so like you better, and they play hard for that head coach. So like you better be ready and get that one, because your next 2 road games are going to be juggernauts, and then it obviously lightens up. But you got to take care of business at Nevada. You're never going to drop the next 2. Just, can he be healthy? Can he be healthy coming out of that stretch? That's really what it is to me, because like, you go down one starting offensive lineman. I mean, we've said this for years. The depth, especially up front, is where group of 6 teams drop off. You just don't have the same type of bodies to go back in there and experience to plug and play like some of these bigger schools that pay their warm bodies $100,000 a piece or $200,000 a piece. You just don't have it. So you got to stay somewhat healthy.
Now, here's the good news if you're Western Kentucky. If you beat Nevada, or even if you lose to Matt, let's just play worst case. Let's say you lose to Nevada, right? You're gonna probably win your next 3 after Indiana, more than likely, unless you just get totally beat to hell. Unless you lose a lot, which you might. But then you get a bye week. Okay, then you come back and you're at Sam Houston. So I think worst case right now you're 4-3. So now can you win? You're going to be favored against Middle, but it is a rivalry game, and it's at Middle, so you never know. So can you find 3 wins out of Delaware, Middle, Jack State, Liberty, Kennesaw? Can you go 3-2 right there?
Yeah.
You can.
Yeah.
Will you, though?
Well, again, it's just you hope none of the negative momentum of that opening part of the schedule carries on with you for the next couple weeks in that middle stretch where you should reel off a couple wins, because we've seen it where we start the year terrible and then your first real home game, conference game, nobody shows up, and it's just sort of snowballs, man. It kind of lingers, and I don't know. I think 6.5's pretty accurate. I do.
Yeah. Well, Jeff, let's take a look at the American. These win totals, by the way, are brought to you by FanDuel. Can you get them on the website, or is it just the app, or what's the story here with these?
Yeah, I mean, if you go to their app, it's on there. Now, I haven't checked in recent week or so if it's on the website version of FanDuel yet, but it's definitely on the app. The app, they seem to update.
I know somebody said something on social that they couldn't find it on FanDuel, but I mean that's definitely where we got them from. But
yeah, 100%.
I'll do the reading for you this time, Jeff, since you did it on the last conference. But the Army 7.5, Charlotte 2.5, East Carolina 7.5, FAU 5.5, Memphis 7.5, Navy 8.5, North Texas 5.5, Rice 3.5, South Florida 8.5, Temple 5.5, Tulane 6.5. Tulsa 5.5, UAB 3.5, UTSA 7.5. I'll tell you what you notice, Jeff, when you look at these. You want to talk about parity at the top, especially.
Oh yeah,
at the top half. I mean, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I mean, you got probably 17. I mean, you got 7 teams that Vegas is looking at saying these guys could win 8 games.
Yeah.
And in the American, unless somebody just steps out as a tier ahead or their schedule set up in a way, 8 games might get you in a champion. 8 games that might get you there.
Yeah. There's so many teams now in the American.
I know, man.
It's nuts. And I mean, good for them. I mean, all their teams really are quality programs, or kind of, on the up and up, really outside of a couple, but every conference is going to have that. You're going to have your top, your mid, your bottom. But I mean, even I don't know, man. It's like looking at Army 7.5. That just, it feels a little high, but I could be wrong about that. Charlotte at 2.5. Got to think that there's 3 on their schedule. They could, win and improve from a year ago. And then you get to the old Pirates of ECU.
Yeah.
What are you thinking? 7.5 right now.
I like the Pirates, Jeff. I mean, theirs is going to ride on their 2 non-conference G6 games, App State and Old Dominion, right? Which they'll be, the way it seems, they'll probably be heavily favored against App. Old Dominion, a lot of people like Old Dominion in the Sun Belt. But they avoid Navy. They don't get Tulane. I mean, dude, I like the Pirates quite a bit, man. And as you know, Jeff, I was the first person in public media to call for Blake Harrell to get that job. And so you're welcome.
That was you, wasn't it?
It was 100% me. Not a joke, in the words of former President Joe Biden. Not a joke. But But they rattled off a bunch of wins in a row. And after like 3 of the wins, I was like, wait a minute.
He's a guy.
I think this guy has coached his way into this job. And then you had a fear, you had this little bit of a fear of like, well, maybe this was too safe. And they just, they go 9-4 last year.
Yeah. No,
The problem for East Carolina or for anybody in the American is they also don't play UTSA, by the way. You looking at this schedule.
Yeah.
So the problem is for them is Memphis generationally good? Is South Florida this the year that they're really good? Is Army really good again? So, and then like we just talked about with Western Kentucky, what happens after week 1 when you leave Tuscaloosa? Yeah. Where are you at on your roster? Where are you at with depth at that point? And so, dude, I like the Pirates quite a bit, but if you ask me to find 8 wins, I think at this point in time, I think they beat App State. I think they beat Old Dominion. They beat NC Central. They beat Rice. They beat UAB. They're 5-1 already.
Well, that's where I was going to go. I think if they want a year to make a run at the American Conference title, like this is the year with a favorable draw. You're getting first-year head coaches in Memphis. I know you're on the road there. South Florida at home. Your swing games to me really are FAU at the end of the season, at Army. If you could pick off, which I would think they would be able to, unless they have key injuries or something, like the Memphis and South Florida, if you can get one of those, I think they get that number easy. I don't want to say easily. I think they get that number. But you got to pick it. And even if they happen to drop both Memphis and South Florida, as long as you take care of business of Army and FAU at the end, you got 8.
Yeah, and you just can't, again, for all of these, right? It's like what you can't go do is beat Memphis and then come back and lose to Temple.
Correct.
Or something like that, because that we know that happens. You're going to get all, you're going to be sitting there on October 15th on a Thursday night, looking at the next Thursday night, getting ready to play, because you want to play Memphis. You're thinking Thursday night, okay, we're going to have, what's his name on campus? It'll probably be on ESPN. What the hell's that guy's name? Used to be him and Dan Mullen, and now it's not Dan Mullen anymore, but the hell's that guy's name? Whatever. But that's going to be there in Memphis. And so are you looking, is that kind of a trap? You get that game sandwiched in between 2 ones that you should win.
Yeah.
And that's where you could slip up. But dude, I like East Carolina a lot. And by the way, Jeff, I'm sitting here looking at this schedule, buddy. Do we need to get up there on September 12th?
Might have to. It depends.
Or do we need to get up there on November 6th on a Friday night? Do we need to go to Memphis on a Thursday?
Options. A lot of options. Got to see how it kind of starts out, at least for the later end of the season.
FAU, man, is just so, like, you do feel for some of these teams because this conference is so good that it's like, even if FAU makes leaps and bounds better than they were a year ago, like, you're probably not getting Memphis. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Tulane or whoever else you got.
Kitley for sure. I expect his offense to be much improved. I felt like it left a lot to be desired, and Veldkamp made some. He just felt like he was pressing last year, but they got to be able. Their defense has got to get better. Their offense has got to improve. 5.5 feels about right. But it just hinges. It hinges on Veldkamp and that offense, because if they can score a ton of points, you're going to be in every game and be able to pick off some of these extra games that you're probably going to be dogs in. So we'll just have to wait and see.
Memphis, Jeff, is one of the a lot of people think Memphis is going to be really good. I think they're going to be really good. They get that quarterback, that kid from West Florida, I think is kind of an X factor. But dude, you got to give credit to Memphis though, because you're going out west twice in the first. Really the first 2 weeks, if you call it week 0, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They're going at UNLV week 0. And then Arkansas State, it's kind of it's a rivalry game. It's close proximity. And then you're at Boise. So, what are they at? 7.5? Is that what they are?
Let me see.
I just had
7.5.
7.5. So, you look at it after that. They'll beat Martin. They'll beat Charlotte. They'll beat UAB. We'll see it. But they got a tough schedule, man. they got a really tough schedule in the non-con, and then in conference. You're at Tulane, East Carolina, Army, at South Florida, at Navy. You get a bye week after Army. So
if those teams live up to what they've kind of been in years past, like is Tulane, you got to think they're going to drop off some with just how much they lost. Like you got to think, right? But ECU, we just talked about high on. Armies, they're going to be a good physical, like they're not an easy out. Can South Florida be what they have been in the past couple of years? And then Navy too. Like a lot of teams in that stretch are replacing either key players and coaches or one or the other. So we just have to wait and see. And how quickly can Huff and those boys reload?
Dude, we've talked about all these teams that their number rides on one or two games. Like Memphis has like 6 50-50 games on their schedule.
Lot. Yeah.
And here's the thing, though. Here's the interesting thing is they don't play a P4 school. But again, as I've been preaching and we've been preaching, is like, dude, you're going at UNLV and at Boise State. Like, you tell me you go to either one of those places and win. That's not a better win than them beating Arkansas last year. Of course it is. But nobody will
don't get credit for it.
Think like that. Now, but if you get through this schedule, I mean, that's a damn playoff worthy resume.
Agreed.
If you get through it unscathed or 11-1.
Agreed. I mean, you're playing pretty much the top dogs in your conference outside of UTSA, who I think is going to be really good, and then two of the better, G6 opponents as well. So yeah, I agree. If they can, I'm not going to say run the table because I think that's really, really difficult to do with that schedule, but be a 1 or 2 loss teams with that schedule and if they happen to win the American, they're in.
Yeah, 100%. Well, let's look at Navy. A lot of people love Navy. Vegas loves Navy. 8.5. I think what a lot of people like is Navy's schedule. More than anything. I can't imagine. It's interesting, and I've seen a few people pick them to be, sort of the quote unquote G6 playoff rep. But here's the thing. I cannot imagine that they don't like. I know you lose Horvath, but you get that. What's the other? Braxton is the kid they got coming in playing this year. A lot of people are high on him, and he may bring something that Horvath didn't have. And so you never know. Sometimes you got a guy that's sitting, that's not playing over the vet, that everybody knows. Like, just wait here. Yeah, just wait till this guy starts getting snaps. So he may be that guy. The people in Annapolis seem to think so. But dude, I mean, you look at their schedule, right? I mean, Towson at FAU. I mean, FAU, even if they're a lot better, they're probably not at the top tier of the American yet. UAB, Air Force, pretty bad last year. Got absolutely
comes down to it though.
And it absolutely got diced in the pass game last year.
Sure did.
So you got to think they'll be better. That's one that is like when you initially look at the schedule and you're like, okay, well, they'll be 5-0. Then you think, okay, I mean, but Air Force should be better. Tulsa. I know our boy Rico likes Tulsa.
Yeah.
I like Tulsa to be better. I don't think I like them to beat Navy just yet. And then you just mentioned UTSA. I mean, they're probably the favorite, as like the consensus favorite, but they kind of always are.
Yeah. You well, you got the quarterback, right? Continuity piece there. But I'm looking at this schedule, Sprouse. If Memphis is good and they end up dropping the Memphis game and the UTSA game, this is Navy. Your swing games is the
Army and Air Force.
It's the CIC. I mean, it's Air Force and Army. Those are your two swing games to get you to 9 wins, or you're going to be at 8 or potentially 7.
And if I'm a betting man, I'm not putting a thing on either of those. Like, I am not banking on either of those two games. I mean, because you just never know. And what we tend to see is the one team that's not a very good one ends up being the team that wins that one, wins those games. So and then Notre Dame. I mean, Notre Dame is kind of back to being Notre Dame, so that's going to be tough. Where's that one at this year? I don't know where
know.
it's at this year. You played in.
Not
Didn't they
sure.
play it in? I think it's in Baltimore this year.
Is it?
Yeah. Anyway, North Texas. You gotta, dude. I'll tell you, nothing pisses me off more than seeing everybody. I remember specifically, and we've talked about this. I remember specifically watching Taylor Lewan and Will Compton. And I just thought, I get the people that talk about the G6 and whatever they say, but they were specifically talking about Mestamaker being a walk off the street guy playing quarterback for North Texas. I remember it vividly. I remember them saying this guy didn't even play in high school, and then Will Compton was like, "Yeah, that's the G5, baby. You just anybody can come play quarterback," which is insane, by the way.
Yeah, you got a linebacker.
And then they go to Oklahoma State. And now Oklahoma State is everybody's dark horse in the Big 12. And now Drew Mestamaker is everybody's, don't forget about this guy in the Heisman watch. And now Wyatt Young is first team all Big 12 preseason all conference guy. And Caleb Hawkins is the number one transfer running back in the country. And Eric Morris is what a great, and all these guys that just didn't belong. Why are we watching these guys? I don't even know when they play. Do they play on TV? All the things that everybody said. And now they change over. They go up the road a little bit. And now it's, look out for Oklahoma State. Number one offense in the country. Look out for these guys. Anyway, I know that's not what we're talking about. I had to get it off my chest a little bit.
No, but it ties into North Texas losing.
They lose all that
so much. I mean, they lost great players.
Yeah.
You lost a coach that was able to reload year in and year out after his players were getting picked off left and right. So I think it's just going to be tough sledding, especially when you start off at Indiana, UNLV at home, at Texas State. I think that's a tough 3-game stretch to start the season with a whole lot of new pieces. So I'm not betting on North Texas over or under. I just think they just got a lot to kind of overcome there.
Yeah, I agree. All right, Jeff. You go to Rice too, staying in the state of Texas. I mean, it's just going to be tough. They're one of the teams where it's just you're just probably not going to get there to the top of this. You might catch lightning in a bottle for a year here and there, but it's just going to be tough for them.
Yeah, and then I got to see more of this offense, right? It's kind of that hybrid shotgun wing tee. In this conference, you're going to have to be able to throw it effectively. Even Army and Navy both throw it effectively. So I just didn't quite see that a year ago. Now, another year in this system, maybe they got some guys coming in, but then, right after their first game of the season, you got at Notre Dame, the defending MAC champion, Western Michigan, at Fresno, UTSA, at ECU. That is a brutal 4 or 5 game stretch to start the year. So you better be ready to come out the gate if you're going to, make some noise in this conference.
Let's talk about my South Florida Bulls, Jeff. Is this the year that I'm right on the Bulls? Is this the year that they finally do it? This is the year, just a complete opposite of the schedule that they've been playing the last couple of years, which has sort of brought their brand to the national spotlight more. Even though they lost to Bama twice, 2 years in a row, they played them really tough both years. Yeah. And then obviously last year you go down to Gainesville and you beat Florida. You beat Boise State the way that they did last year. And, same thing. Those guys go to Auburn, and now, Byron Brown is newcomer of the year in the SEC and all the things. But, they're at 8.5, Jeff. Or are they at 9.5?
No,
South Florida.
8,
you said? 8.5?
Yeah.
I mean, here's the thing, Jeff. I mean, at Army will be tough in West Point, and then at UTSA will be tough. But they could win both of those. The thing about South Florida, in the past, is even when I was at the Memphis game last year, they outplayed Memphis. They still lost the game. So they've got to figure out a way. They've got to figure out a way to finish some games. They've got to play to their potential every single week. Army's a tough one that early in the season. It's a tough conference game that quick on the road too, and they're lucky they ain't got to go up there late.
That's right. It'll be nice in September.
But it's interesting because at first glance you look at the schedule and I'm guilty of this, Jeff, as a group of 5 guy, a group of 6 guy. You initially look at this schedule and you compare it to last year, and you're like, oh, this schedule's way easier than it's been. But then you start digging into it, and you're like, yeah, at Army? I mean, that's not any easier than Boise State at home last year, And then you get late in the season, and you got to go at East Carolina, Memphis at home, at FAU, for Tulane at home. I mean, I like them. I like them to get there, I think. But it's not going to be easy, and they can't slip up in some game that they're winning all game and they blow it or something like that.
Here's what I'll say about the Bulls is we're going to find out early what a Brian Hartline coach team looks like. And I know Army's difficult, and you don't want to play typically an academy team early in the year just because so many new pieces are figuring it out, and a team like that can sneak up and score on you. But I'll say this, if that first 4 or 5 games with FIU, at Army, Delaware State, and at Bowling Green, they get a little bit of time to kind of figure it out before you play the heavy hitters of this conference, because they play all the tough ones.
They do.
A lot of people are high on Van Buren. I just haven't seen enough of them with the new coaching staff. I don't know. There's just a lot of questions. At 8.5 seems a bit high for me. I'm not saying they're not going to get there. A lot of question marks. I wouldn't feel good about betting it before the season. Not with this schedule.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. They got some time to figure it out. But, dude, we just glossed over it. But even FIU, you know what I'm saying? I mean, that's going to be a game that they're going to really get up for.
100%.
And especially what we just talked about with the coaching staff. You know what I'm saying? They're going to a place that they might want to be coaching at soon.
Yeah.
So, Temple, the Owls, like I said, I'll be up there this weekend checking out the facilities and everything. Temple, Casey Keeler is the guy for that job. And I think that they will, if anybody in this conference can sustain some success, if they get to it, it's Temple. You know what I'm saying? You're not that far, not that long ago, Temple was really damn good, playing Notre Dame on freaking College Game Day.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Not that long ago. And I think you'll see this year, they'll be close. You know what I'm saying? I think they'll play up for some of the top teams in this conference. I don't know that they beat any of them, maybe one of them, but they're not going to be a team that's competing for the conference. But I think a bowl season, 6 wins is doable.
I think it's doable. I just want to see continued improvement is what I want to see. And I think you hit it correct. Keeler's the man for that job. He did a great job at Sam Houston. He's doing a great job at Temple. You just keep that rolling and building momentum on top of momentum and stacking good wins. It's going to happen.
Yeah.
This year, I don't know.
Yeah.
6, they could potentially get there.
Well, let's look at Tulane, Jeff. The champs from a year ago, CFP team a year ago. Some of these games that were big wins for them last year, I'm a little nervous about this year. AKA at Duke, at Kansas State, even South Alabama, Southern. I mean, this is God, they just open up with it this year, dude.
Yeah, they do.
I mean, their non-conference is rough. Then they get into conference play and they play, arguably 3 of the 4 best teams in the conference 3 weeks in a row. One of them, you're playing Memphis on a short week.
Yeah, and you know what I don't like at all?
Oof.
I don't like South Alabama being sandwiched in between Duke
I don't either.
and Kansas State, even though it's at home.
They damn near lost to South Alabama last year.
I know. So you got to
I don't like Southern Miss after Kansas State either, Jeff.
No, I agree. I don't. We got to see what this
here's
team
the
looks
thing.
like. This is going to be a different team. I don't care what you say. It's going to have a different feel to it. It just will.
they got a chance, right? Like they still got some dudes. You know what I'm saying? And
Absolutely.
they're gonna have dudes. But you're gonna find out real quick. Do they have that? They have that edge, that John Summerall edge, kind of that chip on the shoulder that he brings just almost automatically. I don't know. Now here's the problem. I don't not the problem, but it's like if you're Will Hall, you're like, well, hot damn. Thanks for setting me up for success, Tim Pernetti.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, you got to look at this schedule and think like, now he could shut up every doubter in all of New Orleans if they get through this. If they get through that at, whatever, 5-2, I think is a pretty damn good record coming out of that first half of the season.
Yeah, I mean, I think your swing games to me, you gotta win South Alabama in week 2. And you got to handle business up at West Point. Like you get those two,
Yeah.
I think you can get to 7.
Well, and here's the thing also though, like Duke is probably going to be up for this one.
Yeah, because last year.
And not that they weren't last year. I think they were up for it last year too, but it's a little different scenario, right? Mensa's not there anymore. Duke now feeling slighted by him. But they're going to want some revenge. Manny Diaz is going to want some revenge there. But is Duke going to be as good as they ended up being last year? Yeah, probably not. Kansas State, I don't know anything about them, so I don't know.
Yeah.
But you're on the road this year. You don't get them all. You don't get everybody at home like you did last year. You know what I'm saying? So that's going to be tough, man. They got a freaking tough schedule. And then they get a little bit of Charlotte, Tulsa, Rice. But then you finish off at South Florida.
Yeah.
It's a tough
schedule.
On that day after Thanksgiving, Friday, that always throws up a wild card.
Sure does.
And then, Jeff, you finish out the American with Tulsa and UAB. Tulsa, I think, is going to be a lot better, man. But I just, again, a lot like Temple. I think they're getting there. I think they're on the rise. I think Trey Lamb is going to be a name that a lot of people start talking about real quick. I think, be quite honest with you, Jeff, to make a little bit of a bold prediction, I think if Tulsa sees some pretty good success and one of these, maybe even another job in the American comes open, I could see Trey Lamb as kind of the next up and coming. He's the young guy, you know what I'm saying? Got all the energy, got all the things,
He's
says all the right
quick
stuff.
Too. The thing I'll say about that is, I mean, we got to interview him last year. We need to get him back on the show to kind of preview this year. But he feels like he can do what he needs to with the donor base and that old money in Tulsa. So, if you can get that place rolling, I don't know. I don't know if I'd leave, but it all just depends on what they're able to pay, and there's so many factors in it. So I'm not going to say he wouldn't leave, but man, if you can get that place rolling, you got the donor base. I don't know. Stay put. You're building something pretty successful, and looking at their schedule right off the rip. I mean, I think Oklahoma State, North Texas.
Yeah, they're good now.
Oklahoma State.
Did you know that?
But man, after that, I see very winnable games to potentially get to 6 wins. I like Tulsa at that 5.5 number.
I mean, you get Tulsa in a bowl game, man. That's a success. And then UAB, I mean, it's gonna be tough.
Yeah,
but they're not going to be favored in very many games. I think 3.5 is kind of a big number.
I do too. I mean, I feel kind of similar about the kind of like middle.
Yeah.
It's just a lot of similarities.
You're just not seeing where, and then you look a lot of similarities, and then you're looking at the schedule and you're just like, I'm not sure where you finding these.
Yeah, unless you just happen to flip your roster. I mean, it's doable.
Yeah,
but you just got to be able to flip your roster and get some guys coming in that can make some plays, and you don't have Dilfer anymore, so maybe they get over that hump.
That was, man, that had to be frustrating. Yeah. I mean, it was like such a splash move too, kind of,
Yeah, it was.
I mean, I don't remember if people were excited about it or not. I think if you're UAB, I mean, you probably were, But they like Mortensen. They played hard for him last year at the end of last year. Obviously, they had that interim head coach bump in the first game, and got them a win and all the things, and then they made them full time. So we'll see, man. But
About the old
anyway,
Road Runners.
did I not even? We skipped right over them or what?
No, they're last.
Oh,
We got them right now.
Let me pull up. I pulled up my notes. I looked up my notes. Listen, we talked about it at the top of the show. Jeff, is they've got. I'm not saying they got the best quarterback in the conference, but they don't have a question mark at quarterback. And they've got some pieces again. They've got a running back, and they're damn near unbeatable at home, which is a huge factor. Now I just X'd out of everything I had, so I don't have the schedule in front of me anymore. Who do they play at home?
This is who they got at home. Well, their opening stretch of the season, Rio Grande, you should get a win there. You go on the road at Texas State. Now they've kind of had that number. You know what I mean?
Yes,
but they're due for some revenge in that game, so we'll see. And then on the road in Austin against Texas. So that's a tough way to start the year. But you get Colorado State at home. On the road at Rice, very winnable. Should be a win. South Florida Bulls at home. Navy at home. You do have to go on the road to Tulane. See how they are this year. On the road at FIU. They get North Texas at home. On the road at UAB. And then Tulsa at home to finish the year. So I think, especially based off of their schedule, the way it sets up, the home games they do have against the tougher opponents in this conference, I think they're the favorite in the American. Just looking at the schedule and looking at everything on its face. Now, when we dive deep, we'll get into it a little bit more and see if some other players, transfers at other schools pop out. But, if they're 2-1 to start the year and their only loss is at Texas, and you run the rest of the table, my friend, if they're as good as we think, there's your playoff team. And could you imagine, Sprouse, I'm just completely hypothetical. They would never do this. Could you imagine a home playoff game?
Well, Jeff, I was going to ask you, of all the games we've been to, that's what I was thinking about. And my mind was wandering as you were talking there. That's the loudest one we've been to, right? Probably.
It just amps it. It amps everything up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're it's like adding probably an additional 20 to 30,000 being in that dome.
Yeah.
Now we've heard reports of crowd noise being pumped into the building.
We have heard reports of that,
but I didn't feel like it was when we were there a couple years ago.
No, it felt as damn organic. And it may be. I like them all. I love tailgating. I love the whole scene. I love Boone and Statesboro and all those places. But I'm a South Florida guy, so I have a little nostalgia when you get to these pro style tailgates. You know what I mean? Where you're just on the concrete. There's something about it. So it seems to be a little more hostile in places like that. Maybe you're talking to when you tailgate in Boone, it's incredible, right? But everybody's you don't feel that just hatred towards the other team. You know what I'm saying? I don't know, man. And maybe it was a conference championship when we were there, but then we felt it when we were at Texas State when they played UTSA, and they're kind of on a concrete tailgate scene. But here's the thing: if they go to Austin, they can't.
Agreed.
And they might,
just we don't know. We'll see. We'll see how good both teams are in that first week or first 2 weeks, and then get the showdown. Hopefully, I hope they compete. Hope they win. But we'll see.
I do too.
We got 2 voicemails to finish the show, Sprouse.
Oh, let's get them. If you want to call the hotline, give a hot take, give a prediction as we're coming up on the season, coming up on camp, 615-900-4286 is the hotline. Leave a voicemail. Keep it under 3 minutes. Otherwise, it gets cut off, and then you got to call twice.
Group of 5 guys. Left your first voicemail, got cut off, so here's my second one. I'll make it shorter. So I've been on a search to find the NFL team that had the most rostered group of 5 guys or non-power 5 guys or power 4 guys. So I'm including the FCS here because I've been following a TikTok account that been playing player intros, and it just made me thought about it. And a lot of the search results came up with the 2017 Jets that had the most. You had Matt Forte on that roster, Josh McCown, Travaris Cadet from App State, Demario Davis from Ark State, Lachlan Edwards, Sam Houston, blah, blah, blah. The list goes on. Brian Leonard's guard from Kent State. He was a good player. But it just goes to show you, of course the Patriots had guys like Julian Edelman, a lot of players like that just kind of stood out. But it goes to show you there's a lot of players in the NFL that had a lot of success at a non-power conference, and specifically the Group of Five. And that's what people got to realize. I'm just going to use Georgia Southern for an example. Georgia Southern's a lot closer to, teams or James Madison. James Madison is better than freaking Vanderbilt. You can't give me that crap. James Madison would have dog walked Diego Pavia, but Diego Pavia was a Group of Five guy, for Christ's sake. But anyway, it just goes to show you that, a lot of these guys that come from the Group of Five go to the NFL, produce, and some of them make the freaking Hall of Fame. Hall of Fame's already hard enough to get into, as we well know. But with that being said, it just infuriates me that people just don't understand that. It doesn't matter where you come from, the stars, the school. If you can ball out, you can ball out. We're Group of Five guys freaking through and through, and we're going to ride this out until the end of the freaking days, boys. Come on. God bless the Group of Five guys. God bless the Group of Five, I guess 6. Hail Southern.
Spot on.
Yeah. We hadn't said that. We quit saying that. I guess because Terry Johnson quit calling.
I miss old Terry.
I was thinking about that the other day. I
Appreciate
keep tabs
you,
on
Josh,
old
though.
Terry
Josh
on the
is
Facebook.
a loyal caller.
Yeah, ain't no doubt. Well, and dude, and there's been some back and forth on socials about that with people talking about the draft picks again, and it's getting harder because of the portal.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's for everybody. So like all the numbers that you already see about the SEC and whatnot are going to be even more inflated. Yeah, it's just like, dude, it's just like when you're in school. If you can play, they'll find you. You'll be just fine. What else we got?
Group of Five guys. This is Mark D, a.k.a. Pitt 13-9 checking in. It's been a while since I gave you guys a call. You got me all fired up from this quote tweet of Bud Elliott and the Fantasy League. Not wanting Group of Five players in it. As you would say, Sprouse, what are we doing, man? You know me, I always
What are we doing?
Last year, okay, number 1 quarterback in pass yards, yeah, Messermaker from North Texas. Okay, we won't have him in the Fantasy League. Number 1 rusher, Cook out of Jacksonville State. Hawkins is fit. Okay, we don't need those in a Fantasy League. How about the top receivers? Scudero from San Jose State was 1. Bell from Connecticut was 2. Young from North Texas was 3. Okay. What kind of fantasy league wouldn't want the top quarterback, running back, and receiver in their league? Just goes to show you, some of these mainstream media talking heads are nothing but trash. Keep doing what you're doing, boys. God bless the Group of Five. God bless the Group of Five guys.
2 for 2.
Dude, Mark D always comes correct.
He's always got the numbers behind him too.
Because facts don't lie.
No, they don't. And yeah, the frustrating part is like the average fan doesn't like. I want to get in a fantasy league with people that don't want, like, because you'd go get Messermaker or Colton Joseph, or one of the, and you'd run away with the league. Because you know right away. But think about this. Dude, you talk about last year. You wouldn't have had Ashton Genty in a fantasy league. Could you imagine?
Yeah, it's nuts.
But it's a shame. But it's funny because they like the fans tell on themselves. and that's what I was getting at on that quote tweet is just like, you're probably right. Like what Bud Elliott said is like, you're probably right. Like 90% of the fans, they don't follow the Group of Five. So they don't even know these players. But like It's what they say. They don't follow it. They don't know the players. They don't watch. They don't know if it's on TV. But then come December 5th, these teams are not good. They don't have any right to be in the same. How do you know? You don't even know that they're on. It's just I don't know, dude. It gets frustrating. But again, and then like we talked about at the top of the show, like the SEC fans think that way about the Big 12 and the ACC, and like it keeps like there's always going to be somebody else, right? Like the Power 4 thinks it's the Power 4, but then the SEC and the Big 10 think it's the Power 2, and then the Pac-12 thinks it's the Power 5, and then if you asked freaking a Georgia fan, they'd be like, well, I don't know. We've been playing Alabama every year in the SEC championship for the past decade. None of you other guys have had any part of this. So and that's what we said. Like, yeah, well, pump the brakes here. So, there's always more. There's always somebody with more resources. And then Eric Morris, he went to Oklahoma State and he said he was frustrated with the lack of resources at North Texas. But then somebody was like, well, that's what Mike Gundy said about Oklahoma State.
That's right.
And that's what Lane Kiffin said about Ole Miss. That's what Brian Kelly said about Notre Dame. So there's always somebody with more resources and more something. So, sorry, Jeff. We got to go.
No, I thought that was fantastic. Way to end
the
show.
If you like the show, make sure you hit the follow button on all the social media platforms at Group of Five Guys. Go to YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, the Believe Network, wherever you get your best podcasts. Subscribe to the channel. Leave a 5-star rating and a review. Tell your family and friends all about us. Tell them to subscribe. This has been the Group of Five Guys presented by FanDuel. Hope you enjoy the rest of your week.